Loose Women, the podcast, is brought to you by Mecca Bingo.
Home of bingo besties, where fun and friendship come together, just like best mates.
MeccaBingo.com is the home of legendary bingo. I love being let loose with me dobber.
We all love a win, and the Mecca Prize Promise brings 3 games a day, and everyone who plays is a winner.
Players must be over 18, terms and conditions apply. Go to meccabingo.com for details and please be gamble aware.
This episode of Loose Women, the podcast, contains some adult themes, including discussions about bullying and sexuality.
meccabingo.com, sponsors of Loose Women.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Loose Women, the podcast, with me, Jane Moore, and the gorgeous...
It's me, GK Barry.
GK Barry. It's your first one. How are you feeling?
I'm buzzing. It's good to be, and it's nice to be on a different set, and I don't have to do anything. This is all on you today,
Well, you
Jane.
do. You have got to talk.
Yeah, no, I can do that.
You can do that.
Know, yeah.
I do know that. I can vouch for that. So today's episode, we're just going to, it's a chance to have a little bit of a deep dive into certain topics with each other. I know we've done a lot of deep diving in our time together in the I'm a Celebrity jungle. Quite intense, wasn't it? 24-hour days. It felt like 30 years. But I did get to know a lot about you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because right from the very beginning, I think this is just my own personal perspective,
Go
but
on.
you can disagree.
Yeah.
The first few days I thought, okay, that's GK Barry. And then suddenly, through the mist, through the campfire smoke, came Grace.
Yeah, I think maybe I was putting on a little bit of a front to start with, but I don't even think I realised I was doing that. I just thought, I've just got to be big personality here. And then I just thought, can't be arsed now.
And then we made quite an unlikely friendship, I
Jane,
think.
this is what I'm going to say to you, is I knew you were going in. I read the leaked lineup. I have no morals. I was reading everything. And
We all did.
All it was Jane Moore. Opinionated, strong-minded, takes no, and I thought, this woman's going to eat me alive. I said, we're either going to get on or she's going to be the most terrifying woman ever. And thank God we got on.
We got on.
Yeah.
And my perspective of you was, so I thought, so obviously you were already doing Loose Women, but weirdly we hadn't done a show. So the first time we met was literally on a beach in Australia.
Skydived
I
down,
have literally
like
just
a dream.
skydived out of the sky and I'm running towards you like a deranged person. And I looked and I thought, when I was thinking I'm going to pick GK, she's going to have a core of steel. First thing I saw was the white jumpsuit. Of like, why has she picked that outfit for this jungle show? Has she never seen it?
Yeah.
And then cut to you doing the cockroaches and literally screaming. And I just thought, well, that's it. This is it now. This is...
Jane, thank God you were there, because you were dragging me into that swamp with my hair tied up in a little band, and you were just pulling me along this swamp going, you're not going to die. And I thought, thank God Jane is here. And you carried on that mantra for the whole time.
So what did you learn about unlikely friendships? Because we had an unlikely friendship.
Yeah.
Also, you had one with Reverend Richard.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that him and I are two people that you might not necessarily have socialised with in the outer world.
Yeah, I can't imagine bumping into you guys at like Heaven or something like that. Which
Well, you would in the 80s.
Well, yes. But I think it's funny because you guys were so interesting to me, because it's not the same chat that I'd have with like Maura or something. Even though I loved speaking to Maura, it was like different. Like, I just think you guys have lived such incredible lives, and I would just sit there most of the time while you two were talking to me with my mouth wide open, because it was just so interesting. I think that's why sometimes it's important to have different kinds of friendships, because you can have loads of friendships with people who've got similar jobs or similar age to you, but what are you actually gaining out of that? Obviously it's good to do, but yeah, I just found both of you so interesting, and you gave me a little bit of a backbone, which no one my age has done. Like, you had a go at me. You said, you dare look on Twitter when you get home. You
were telling me you went on things like Tattle, which is like the worst thing ever.
I know.
And that, to me, is like an act of self-harm.
Yeah, no, I know. But you fully just said to me, would you walk into a bar or a pub and say, what do you think about me? And the answer was no. So I thought, actually, that's a really good... I thought, if Jane Moore said that to me, I can't do it. So yeah, it's nice to have different insight on different.
Yeah.
Do you think I've done that to you? Have I given you insight?
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is though, also I've got 2 daughters. You met them, and you're like my third daughter. You sort of slot in the middle between the 2 of them. One's 21, one's 32.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have hung out with them a lot, and of course, my youngest, my 21-year-old, was like, "You have to become best friends with G.K. Barry." She was adamant about it, and I was thinking, we're going to have nothing in common.
Yeah.
But actually, we did. And obviously there's just everybody, whatever you do for a living, whatever age you are, there's all things in your lives that you connect over. And what I loved about you, I'm an observer.
You are.
And I used to sit there sometimes in the many, many long hours that we had just sitting on that log staring into the campfire.
Log.
And you would suddenly disappear. You'd be there in body.
Yeah.
But mentally you would just
Nothing
suddenly,
behind
and you'd be
yours.
like this. And I'd think, where's she gone? Where had you gone in your head?
I was just trying to survive. I was like, just pretend you're someone else. I do that a lot though. And I actually have noticed I do that a lot on the show, is I will be listening to everything, but there's nothing behind my eyes. And then I'll zone back in when I need to zone back in, and I have no clue why I do it. You can see it when you watch the show. Sometimes the camera pans to me and I'm like, and I have no clue why I do it. But yeah, it's funny that you picked up on that, because I need to stop doing that.
Well, no, I mean, in the jungle, it was it was a long
coping
days,
mechanism.
weren't they? And it was just like, but I just thought, oh, you're having a quiet moment, you're having a little bit of
You
a.
can't have a quiet moment in there, really, unless you go to the dunny. But that it's still stressful.
Yeah,
for
but
spiders.
I think that group of us, we were quite good.
Yes.
Like Barry going off to his charging station, as we called it. He used to go and lie on his bed, didn't he? We were quite good at giving each other space when we needed it.
Yeah.
But looking back, because we talked a lot about your childhood when we were in the jungle, what sort of friendships did you have? Because you started life in the Caribbean, right?
It was really weird, because when from as young as I can remember, I was in Tortola, and I was like one of the only white girls. All the aunties were doing my hair, they were braiding my hair, little cornrows, and I was just, I never saw anything different about that. I just thought, oh, this is it.
Did you feel like you belonged there, even though you obviously were in a black community?
Any weird, but also the school that I went to, there were so many different races that it was just normal for me to see just any race at any time. So I was friends with everyone and whatever, and
So you had a great time while you were there?
I had an incredible time. I could open coconuts with my head, it was incredible. And then when I moved back to the UK, we moved back to a predominantly white, small town, and I had a Caribbean accent. Now, Jane, I don't know if you've ever gone into a small town with a Caribbean accent and be white, but it's vicious. It was just really, really weird. And most people couldn't wrap their head around.
So you talk about the community or school?
School.
Right.
They just could not wrap their head around who is this girl? Why is she... I'm talking about my life, and people had no clue what I was on about. And to be honest with you, they hadn't seen anyone that wasn't white the majority of the time. So I think it was a massive adjustment.
Isn't that weird, though, that you came from where you were probably the
Only
not
white,
many white
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
but you felt completely at home and like you belonged. And then you came into a community where you thought, well, I'm going to fit in here.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
It was really, really weird. And then obviously you've got the other side of my dad was getting a lot of hate at the time because, again, we were in a white community. He was getting a lot of racism. So it was sort of just I don't really know where we all stand here. It was really, really weird.
And this is he's your stepdad,
He's my
Andrew,
stepdad,
but he's your dad.
Yeah. So I think it was quite a big adjustment. And obviously I struggled to make friends a little bit at the start, but primary school wasn't too bad. Considering I had all of that going on, it wasn't.
What age were you when you came into that town?
Maybe 8.
Right,
7,
okay.
8.
Yeah.
So I was still quite young. But that wasn't too, because kids adjust easily anyway. After a week of me being there, old news. But I'd say when I went to secondary school, it was still, again, I went to a really white secondary school. So, my best friend Kim at the time, she was a black girl, and she was one of 3 black people in my whole school. And I feel like we had that sort of connection because I saw that, and obviously I had my dad as well, so I found it really easy to make friends with her because I sort of got it. I think she got it too.
And was that something then that saw you, because you had a tough time at secondary, didn't you?
It was vicious.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what sort of things.
I was very lanky. I wasn't like the stereotypically like pretty girl like that you would have at school. I was really weird. I wasn't smart, and
you are smart,
but academically, no. Like, I'm smart in, like, I'd say my fields. Like, I know how to tell a story well. I can, I know what's going to work. But maths, pass. Like, I have no clue. So I really struggled with that. And I think because I was trying so hard to fit in, that it made the whole thing worse. Do you know what I mean? Because it was then people were like, what is this girl doing? But yeah, I think it was really, I don't know. I just really struggled to make friends at school. I've still got 2 friends who I'm still friends with now from school, but I just think school is just nasty anyway. I don't care if you've had a good time, a bad time. I don't think anyone really enjoys school. I
did.
No,
I mean, I hate to say it. I loved school.
Really?
I absolutely loved it.
Imagine enjoying school.
But obviously, I was there years before you. No phones, no.
Well, Twitter had just started.
Yeah, no, I mean literally none of that.
Yeah.
So I absolutely loved it. I mean, I am the cliche school days, the best days of your life.
That's quite nice, though. I wish I had that. Because when like phones were just becoming like a big thing at my school, and I remember,
was it all like Bebo and those
like
early
BBM, all of it. Everyone had a BlackBerry apart from me. I had an LG Cookie, and I remember
I have no idea.
It's just a brick.
Right.
It's just a brick with a pink back on it.
Right.
But yeah, you'd go to school and everyone would be on Twitter or Facebook, like writing nasty little statuses and whatever, tagging you. You'd be I will never forget this, being put in group chats where people have been horrible about you. Then you'd be removed, so you couldn't reply. It would just be you could see everything they'd said about you. And then you've got the anxiety of, well, I've got to see them tomorrow. What's going to happen tomorrow?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Nasty little creatures.
And it's funny, isn't it? Was any of the bullying ever physical?
No.
Because a lot of people associate bullying with like being shoved in the corridor or whatever, but everything you're describing is like psychological bullying.
If someone beat me up. So no, I never really had that. I don't think my school actually was really like that. It wasn't a very physical like bully, but it was more like people are going to be nasty to you online. People are going to be nasty to you in person. They're going to make you feel excluded. They're going to speak about you loudly while you're in the same room. And I'm not a very confrontational person, so if someone's doing that, I'm just going to sit and let it happen.
It was interesting because you were telling me the other day, which I was, obviously adolescence is a big program.
Yeah.
Everybody's been talking about it, about sort of young boys kind of getting into this whole online toxicity thing.
The only time genuinely that I get homophobic comments or nasty comments about my looks is from young boys, especially the homophobic comments. The other day, me and Ella, my girlfriend, posted a video and it was like, disgusting lesbians. And I clicked on it and it was a 12-year-old boy. And I thought, that's so rogue. And then when Adolescence came out, I thought that's so interesting because they have, when they say, oh, it's fine, they're in their room, they're safe, they're not doing anything. Most of the time, they're doing the most harm online, and you just have no idea because it's hard to keep track of your kids online. I wouldn't have a clue. But I think raising a child in this generation, absolutely not. No way.
That's so sad to think that, because you hope over the generations that children are evolving with their opinions. That's so sad that a 12-year-old would be thinking homophobic thoughts.
Well, it's funny because at school, a lot of the boys and stuff, they were homophobic. It was really bad when I was at school. But now they're more confident with it, which is, I think, the issue. I would never at school, they would never post it online. They would say it, oh, that's gay, blah, blah, in person. But now they are, with their faces on their profiles, digital footprint, putting out their nasty stuff. And I just think they're getting so bold and it's quite scary. Yeah.
And it's the message of the show was very much like, as parents, we have to learn you know, we have to learn what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult. I mean,
you
I
not to
feel
know.
completely out of touch with what you do.
Yeah.
And there's probably a whole generation behind you where you're feeling like the old person
When
in
I
the
was
room.
watching the show and they were like, this emoji means this, I was like, does it? Like, I've never ever, and I'm like chronically online. I'm always online. Never even knew about that. So it's like, well, when I grow up and maybe have kids, I'm going to be so out of touch. I think there needs to be a course or something.
Yeah, but it's like their own language, isn't it?
Yeah.
All generations have
got their
found
own.
it, but the online thing and the toxicity around it, I think, is really... I actually think it's sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do as well. And I think it's so normalised too, which is so bad.
See, so much what you're saying to me now explains why in the jungle you were saying to me, I actively look online for people saying nasty things about me. Now I understand why.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I like the confirmation of it.
But you said I like the confirmation that I'm not worthy or something.
I know, but it's more like if I've thought, say, on today's panel, oh, I did really bad today. If I go online and see loads of people going, oh, she was really bad today, then it's like, okay, I was right. That yeah, I was. Even though it's going to upset me.
But that's like sort of screwed up confirmation. But it's like sort of like...
Yeah, but I don't know why. It's weird, isn't it?
Have you got better at that now? Not going to look for...
Yeah, and I did get myself a therapist, Jane. So I'd say that's helped a lot too. But I think it's only if I'm having a really down day that I'm like, do you know what? Let's search my name. But I don't do it as much now.
When did you start your therapy?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually really beneficial. I would recommend it to everyone.
Oh, brilliant.
And you just get to talk about yourself for an hour, so it's quite nice, actually.
Yeah. And so what are you taking from it? Just sort of processing stuff?
Yeah, just how to deal with the anxiety. And I said to her, I said, listen, I was in the jungle, okay? Do you know how tough that was? Because I think it actually looks... Obviously, it was an amazing experience, but it actually was just really tough, and I really struggled leaving. Adjusting to coming back.
Yeah.
I felt like everyone had lived like 7 lives and we'd just been in this like cave.
Yeah.
And then we were just expected to go back out.
It was weird, wasn't it? It was like life, and then you go into this sort of like bubble and then come out and then it's like life, and it's like...
I don't want to go back
even
to
I
life.
felt like that.
Yeah.
I was like sort of, wow.
It was really, really weird.
But I felt like I'd been on a spa break.
You did?
I did.
We had different spas.
Do you know, before I went into the jungle, I was not sleeping well because, you know, I'd got divorced, I was selling my house, I had so much going on in my head. When I got into that jungle, all I had to do was like wake up and think about making the fire or something.
Yeah.
I didn't have, and I am now still sleeping like I was sleeping in the jungle. I've got my sleeping back in.
That is one positive there.
Yeah.
The sleep was insane.
It's amazing.
I'm so well rested.
And you were in that hammock.
I actually really
so
enjoyed
uncomfortable.
my life. It was incredible, Jane. I was swinging about, wind in the air. Really enjoyed it.
It's interesting you saying that you've gone into therapy now, and obviously you've only been doing it for 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
do you think you will be addressing the sort of the bullying at school? Do you think that's very much part of who you are?
I think maybe, but I also am kind of glad that I had stuff like that happen to me, because I always think if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have the coping mechanism or defense of being funny, because I had to be funny to deal with it. So I don't think I would have this career now if people weren't mean to me, which I think is quite important. Like, I know it's hard at the time to think, is there a positive of this? But a lot of times there is.
And a lot of your humour is self-deprecating.
Oh, I love self-deprecating humour. I do love that.
And you started it in like in lockdown, didn't you? Really, and you kind of quite got only child energy, but I know you have got a sibling.
But I am an only child.
Yeah.
All my siblings are like 50, 40. They've moved out, so I was the only child.
Yeah.
So I do take advantage of that.
Yeah. So you were in your room and you were like, I'm just going to have this persona. I'm going to put this stuff out there.
Yeah, and I really don't think I cared. I remember at school being really self-conscious. I'd never wear my hair up. I'd never have my legs out, which is a shame because I do have quite nice legs. But
You've got great legs.
I didn't think I did, Jane. But, you know, I was so self-conscious, and I just wish, you could just say to young people, you know, when you're so self-conscious, no one cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally no one cares.
So true.
At all. Even now I have to tell myself, like, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like people are looking at me. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one's looking at you.
Well, we are going to take a break now.
Stunning.
As she is demonstrating, having a little sip of her, what is it you're drinking?
Water.
Oh, so abstemious.
So demure.
We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thank you to all of you that have been listening. It's great that you're all really engaged with the podcast. So don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate us, all of that. It really means a lot. So yeah, thank you to all of you. We are back here. We're going to have a little chat now.
We are back.
I want to ask you, how did you know when you found the one?
I would say obviously it's Ella, my girlfriend. But
Right answer,
correct. I'm in the good books now. But I would say I'd never come out to my parents prior to this because I was always too scared. And I thought, oh, like, what if I come out and then it's like, I go back in, like, it's just a faff. And then when I started speaking to Ella, I thought, oh no, like I quite like her. So I thought, no, I have to tell my parents. And I think that's how I knew, because it made me brave enough to actually say it. I was like, this has got to be the one.
So just going back then, for anybody who doesn't know, your relationship history has always been men.
God forbid, it's always been men. Pray for my mental health, guys. It was treacherous.
So when you were with those men, were you having thoughts of, I'm not sure if this is for me, or...
I don't know. I just thought, I like them. Like, I could probably be with them. Like, it wasn't ever that I wasn't really like, oh, but I remember thinking, and to be frank with you, Jane, when I was sleeping with them, I did think, well, this is a bit of a chore.
That's a clue.
Yeah, it turned out I was actually just gay. So that was a big indicator for me.
So you would describe yourself as gay rather than bisexual?
I would say so, but the thing is, it's so like... I find it hard to just label things spot on. Like, Ella always says this, she's like, I'm not in a box. Like, I just am what I am and when I am, do you know what I mean? So I think, but yeah, I would say I am. Like, I love Ella. But...
Where did you meet?
We met through a mutual friend. And before that, I'd never dated any girls. So I remember I saw the calves on her and I thought, well, I must follow her. Like, she is sensational. And then she followed me back. She dropped me a message.
She's a footballer, we should
She
point
is a
out.
footballer. God bless. So yeah, then we started talking and then we met up 3 days later. She moved in. I met her parents the week after.
So like, it was literally instantaneous.
It was so lesbian. Yeah. Just straight away. Met her parents the week after. And then I was like, I should probably tell my parents. And that, I would say, was quite a scary part for me, was telling mine.
So how long had you been seeing each other before you told your parents?
About 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk like months.
But the thing is, my parents, they were like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just like Ella's coming over. And they were like, who is Ella? So one day they came over to my house and Ella was there. And, she was looking all good and everything with her little bun. And then I went and dropped them to the train station and they were like, can we just ask who Ella is? And I just went, it's my girlfriend. And they were like, right, cool. And I thought that was really nice that they didn't make a big deal out of it, because I've always thought, oh, what do you say? Like, that's the best way that could happen, but I would overthink it, I think.
Because in telly shows, it's always like, Mum, Dad, sit down.
Yeah, everyone's like crying and cheering. Like, I think if my child came up to me and was like, I'm gay, I would really overthink how to react, because I wouldn't want to make it too big of a deal, but I wouldn't want to underplay it because I know it's a big thing. I feel like that's a really difficult thing for parents.
And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because when you think about it, nobody who's straight ever feels the need to sit down their parents and go, Mum, Dad, I have to tell you I'm straight.
Yeah. It's a weird one. I don't know why we feel the need to have to, but I think it is just the elephant in the room, because it's more socially acceptable, like, prior to this, to be straight. Like, it was more of a shock when, oh my God, they're gay.
Yeah, back in the day. I mean, I actually went to, like, years ago. I mean, I think it was more, he was Irish. His mum was very Catholic. He was, like, really worried that she would know he was gay.
Really?
I had to go to his sister's wedding with him pretending to be his girlfriend
Well, what
to
would you
put his
do-
mother off the scent.
Really?
Yeah.
What would you do if one of your daughters came out as gay?
It wouldn't bother me at all.
Love that for you.
It just really wouldn't. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like that. All you want as a parent is for your kids to be happy.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think back in the day, I've got like friends who've got gay kids who came out like years ago, and their only thing of it was that society might be harsh.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
it's all wrapped up in the happiness of, is society going to treat them well?
Yeah,
Rather
yeah.
than what was going on inside the parents' head of like, oh my God, I don't want my child to be gay. I've never had
Yeah.
that conversation with anybody.
Have you ever dipped your toes in the lesbian pool?
Do you know, I haven't. And
That's a shame, James. I think you'd fit in really well.
are you coming on to me?
I am, yeah.
Far too old. It's interesting you ask that because, I'm not going off on a diversion here, but years ago I had a great, one of the best interviews I ever done with George Michael.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about his sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, emotionally, I could be with a woman for the rest of my life.
Really?
He said, emotionally, I'm much more attuned to women. He said, but unfortunately, I'm sexually attracted to men.
Yeah.
And I would say the same. I could live with a woman emotionally
Right.
to the end of my days. You know, I have so many great female friends that I could literally live with, like Hinge and Bracket. You're too young to know who they were. Like two sort of like spinster sisters for the rest
Like
of my life.
Ab fab.
But I'm not physically attracted to women.
Yeah, I guess that is also a bit of an issue. Yeah, if you can't do bits with them. But
I think that's God's joke.
yeah,
That it's just
To spite
like,
us.
yeah.
Yeah.
You probably won't get on with men as well as you will with women, but we're going to make you sexually attracted to. But then we have to be, don't we? Because then we have babies.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
back
that
in the
is
day
true.
before medical intervention meant that everybody could do.
Do you know, speaking of the one or whatever, do you remember your first heartbreak? Trying to flip it over a little bit.
I'm trying to think because, oh God, it's difficult really. I'm a bit of a, oh God, what's the word? I'm a bit of a, I think about stuff inside my head a lot before
Right.
I articulate it.
Okay.
So I have never been dumped. Now there's a reason that I've never been dumped
Yeah.
because I anticipate the writing on the wall.
You know what's coming.
I know what's coming,
Right.
and so I get in first. Now that's going to be a whole thing that a therapist would go.
I was going to say,
why
that's
would you want to
awful.
get in first?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's obviously just something about my. But so for me, heartbreak. Even if I've had a couple of nights where I've been like really upset. But then after that, I just have this ability to put things on the back burner and to just go, okay, that wasn't to be. And this is in romantic relationships, right? Not, there are certain things that, anything that, is there any wood in here?
I don't know.
Anything that might happen to my kids,
Yeah.
that's a whole other, that would destabilise me forever.
Yeah.
But romantic relationships, I would just be like, well, okay, I really liked them. I got in early because I could sense they were drifting away.
Yeah.
I'm really upset about it. Boo hoo hoo. And then about 2 days later, I'll be fine.
That is the most Jane answer ever, and I love that. That is a
I just
really
have
good
an ability
quality.
to
Yeah.
go, right, that's that, move on.
That's
Are
so
you not?
good.
Are you
No,
not?
I will hysterically cry for about 6 months and then remember that I'm blonde and I'm all right.
You're all right.
But it
you're
will take
absolutely
me
fine.
6 months.
You're absolutely fine.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And you're with the right person now,
Thank God.
you know?
Thank God. My God. Actually, do you know what they do say, though? Your first lesbian heartbreak is apparently the worst. Like, it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen to you.
No, better not. But yeah, so if it does, pray for me.
But it's interesting you said about homophobic comments. I'm really surprised by that because I really thought that doesn't happen, or it might happen from the older generation. Because I remember when my older daughter Ellie, who you've met,
Yeah.
she was about 6, and we were coming home from school, and she suddenly went, "Mummy, do you know what gay means?" And I always said, right, if they ask me a question, I'm always going to answer it honestly, but
Yeah.
age appropriately. So I said, well, you know, you know, blah, 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 mum loves dad or whatever. And, you know, but sometimes a man loves a man and a woman loves a... And I was literally halfway through and she went, no, mum, I know what it means. I just wanted to know whether
double
you
check.
did. And I was like, oh my God, how amazing.
She knew all about it.
She had mates at school that she would go, oh yeah, no, so-and-so's gay or
It's
whatever.
more accepted now, though, I would say, because I hear, like, my friends' nieces and nephews will be like, Sarah came out as bisexual today. It was a whole thing at the dinner table. Like, you know, we're just supporting her through it. Like, you know, she's having a bit. But it makes me laugh because you would never, ever, no one would come out as gay at my school. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, no,
not.
I mean it's rife
not
now
a
in
thing.
terms of just everybody feeling
Yeah.
completely okay, and that's great.
Yeah.
That is
Thank
great.
God. Yeah, but I don't know if I think homophobia is going to exist for the dawn of time, but like I don't know, I think it's nice that it's becoming a little bit more acceptable now. I think maybe by the time I have kids, maybe everyone will be a bit gay.
Should we have a quick break?
Absolutely.
You're sweating.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this. Welcome back. It's time now for our loose ends. So this is the bit of the podcast where we get to ask each other a question that we want to know, but we don't actually know what's coming, which makes me very nervous,
I'm sweating.
especially with her.
Goodness me.
Right, come on, hit me.
I'd say mine's quite nice, but I know that you are very, like, you are to the point. So I want to know what your worst date story is.
Oh gosh, I've got quite a few actually.
I bet you have.
Okay, the absolute worst, I think, and weirdly it ended up being a really long-term relationship.
Really? It's always the way.
So I met this guy and he said a friend of mine is having a rum party, right? So I thought, well, what can possibly go
Dangerous
wrong?
game.
Rum,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I like rum. I don't think I'd ever drunk it up to that point, but I was eager to please. I was
like
like,
rum.
yeah, love it. So you get there, there's like some massive punch bowl with like, I have no, you know, those student parties where everything's gone in there.
Oh my God.
Probably a bit of Domestos, all
Yeah,
of it, whatever.
battery acid.
So I'm like, yes, yes. Oh, isn't this lovely? Yes, here I am. Aren't I witty and marvellous on this first date? Felt absolutely fine. And then he said, I'll walk you home. As soon as the air hit me, I was like this. First, I vomited. I thought my entire body was going to come out. I literally I was vomiting so badly into a hedge.
Oh, Jane.
With this guy. Then I started to cry.
Well, of course.
Because you just would,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
of course, yeah.
So didn't have waterproof mascara on.
No,
So
no,
it was
no.
all down his shirt, all like black rivulets because he was holding me up to get me home. When we got home, I mean, I did know him. He was like a friend of a friend, so I didn't let a complete stranger into my flat. He came into the flat. He put me in the... So I was still fully clothed. He put me in the shower, put the shower on. He did all the temperature and everything, put me in the shower fully clothed to get all the sick off me and off all of my clothes, and then tucked me up into bed.
See, I'm glad he did that, because
And then
that
he went
could have gone
home.
one of two ways. He could have just left you and been like, you are a state.
And we went out for years.
I'm not surprised. That
But
is actually very kind
When
of
you
him.
started on that point,
Yeah.
it's... What about you? What was yours?
I've never really been on too many dates, but once this man took me ice skating, and I don't do activities for dates. And he took me ice skating. I couldn't ice skate, and he was one of those that can ice skate. So I was just like, "What? You just wanted to show that you could
Doing
ice?"
all that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I just thought this is ridiculous.
And you're like there with the penguin.
Yeah, and I just thought this isn't for me. We don't have any conversation here, and I need a penguin to help me along. Yeah, I would say that's my worst, but I've never really been on many. So
What do you mean you've never been on a date?
I've just never really been on dates. First
how do you
long-term
end up with people?
relationship, I picked him up, took him to McDonald's, and then he took me back to his hostel. So that's
We
that's
are
the
such
level.
different generations. I am literally like, no, you've got to take me out on a date. Then, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
On and on.
I need to have that. And with Ella, she just came round my house because she was injured and we couldn't go anywhere, and I painted her. Take that as you
What?
are.
You painted
On a
her?
canvas, I
Oh, I
drew
see.
her
I
and
thought
she
you meant you
painted
actually
me.
physically painted her.
That was second date.
with like chocolate or
Yeah,
something.
strawberry.
Anyway, that's a whole other story. Right, my question for you.
Okay.
I'm intrigued because obviously Loose Women's been going for over 25 years now.
It's my age.
Bit of an exactly. You were born
never forget.
when I did the first show with Kay and Nadia.
That's a nice thought for you.
Literally, you were a newborn like this. That's quite scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's a bit of an institution. What did it feel like walking in on the first day?
One of the most terrifying things ever.
Really?
I'd already been on as a guest. Everyone was lovely to me, of course. But when I had that first, if people don't know, you have a meeting in the morning, right? So everyone's got no makeup on. I've just been dragged out of bed. It's 8 a.m. And you sit down and everyone sort of knows each other. And I remember being so scared because I was like, what am I going to have in common with these people? I've just waltzed in here with my young opinions and just disagreeing with whatever they're saying. But everyone, thank God, has been so nice. The team are lovely. But I thought, I mean, I still haven't met Janet. I'm still quite scared to meet Janet. I think they're easing
She's
me
a
into
pussycat.
Janet. Yeah.
Just shout back.
Oh. Well, I won't do that. But that was genuinely in the first couple of episodes that I did. I was a mute. Like, I don't know how I've been invited back because now I'm all right. But genuinely, the first few episodes, I would just sit there and be like, yeah.
It is weird though, isn't it? Because I think when people watch it, they think it's easy.
It's
so
so scary.
Yeah.
And you've got someone in your ear. I still am not used to when we have to interview people. I did it today. They were like, can you ask this? And I thought, no. I cannot ask someone a question, even though we're doing this normally and I can do it. As soon as it's live telly, game changer. I just cannot do it.
That will get better though. It's fun. Nobody comes in straight away just like, you know, the finished product. Everybody kind of gets there in the end.
Hopefully, Jane.
I mean, we have like politicians coming on the show who've done every show you could ever think of, like Panorama, Question Time, Newsnight.
Yeah.
The minute they sit in that seat in the middle of four women, they suddenly go...
It is quite intimidating, though.
And afterwards, they all go, "Oh my God, that's one of the most terrifying things I've ever done." And it's funny, isn't it?
I love that. But no, I love being part of it. I think it's such a flex.
Well,
honestly.
we love you.
Oh, I love you, Jane.
We do. That's it for today. 2 more Loose Women are back on Friday, and they're going to be answering your questions and dilemmas.
So if you've got a question that you want answered, make sure you send it over to loose.women@itv.com.
Until then,
Stay loose.